Welcome to the Upshot, multi-world disc golf podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I'm the editor, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me is Josh Mansfield on this Tuesday, April 2nd. No fooling. Anthony Barela wins his second tournament of the season as he takes down the Texas State Disc Golf Championships in pretty impressive fashion in different ways in rounds 2 and 3. We'll get to it. And over in FPO, we have our 5th unique winner on the season. That's a record. It's also the 5th straight tournament where the winner had to shoot over 1,000 rated, and that is also a record. Anniken Steen becomes the first Norwegian player to win on tour ever at an Elite Series or a major. Josh, what a weekend it was as we wrap up the Texas swing. Some really compelling disc golf on Sunday as folks came in on the final round.
Absolutely. And it's the first time that we've really seen competitive finishes in both divisions at a tournament this season. FPO has kind of been, kind of walked away with it for the winners in all the previous tournaments. And so to get both divisions this close coming down to hole 18 where you had somebody chasing, absolutely exciting weekend. Lots of great golf to talk about and some really impressive statistics that kind of show just kind of what a unique season we're having thus far into the year.
Well, I want to start an MPO, and there's much to discuss. And, some of this is already, we already talked about a bunch of this on our Rapid React show, which we would highly encourage you to check out if you become a subscriber. Anthony Barela with the win takes over first place in the DGPT standings. No surprise, the only multi-tournament winner for the season so far. He shoots his first ever 1,100 plus rated round at an Elite Series or a major. Obviously he did it earlier this season at the Memorial, followed it up with a terrible round and lost the tournament to Gannon Burr. And it was, I gotta be honest, it was kind of looking like that might happen again, Josh.
Yes.
Anthony Barela had a 6-shot lead over Ezra Aderhold going into the final round. And no one has ever blown a lead that big going into the final round. It's never happened. 45-0 all time players with 6-shot leads or better entering the final round of a big tournament. And he really started to kind of hit the skids in the middle of the round. And Gannon Burr, who was 8 shots back, actually ends up surpassing Ezra Aderhold and making it a contest, forcing Barela to have to really clutch up late in the round and hit back-to-back circles edge critical putts on hole 16 and 17 to give him cushion going into the 18th. Josh, Gannon shoots 1,100 rated round in the final round. It looked like we might see what we've seen so many times before, Anthony Barela faltering when the pressure is on late in a final round. And while he certainly faltered and made some big errors and didn't throw it anywhere near as amazing as he did in round 2, which was the round of the year from a player so far, he was still able to rely on his putting, of all things, to carry him to a win.
It's something that I think you highlight really well there when you say he relied on his putting, because in the past, when he has honestly, we've seen it in both situations, right? I think of Music City Open, where he had the blow-up 3-putt that lost him the tournament, and then I think of European Open, where he couldn't hit the green on hole 16, and so Anthony Barela has shown us, like, in those tough moments, that he can devolve on both sides of his game. And the way Gannon was playing, right, to really charge like he was, shooting the 15 under, required Anthony Barela and those last 3 holes to clutch up in all those aspects of his game. He had to hit big putts on hole 18. He had to execute a shot and stick it on the green, in bounds, honestly, is all he needed. And he was able to do all of those things. And so it really was a complete performance from Anthony Barela in what he called on his Instagram post the most stressful round of his life. Like that to
understandable.
Me, understandable. And so to me, this just shows, once you get that first win for somebody like Anthony Barela, who's been plagued by, the mental game issues, it really gives him something to rely on in those difficult moments, allows him to persevere and get now his second victory.
Josh, you have been one of the biggest Anthony Barela haters on the planet. I mean, you have been throwing the shade like nobody else. Are you converted on AB at this point, or do you still feel like he's prone to mistakes in big spots?
I said once Anthony Barela wins one, he's going to win 3 or 4 in the same year. I've always believed that, because it's one of those things that he's just been too close, and the kind of mistakes that I think there are 2 types of mistakes of people who kind of fall apart to the pressure. You have the likes of Calvin Heimberg, who play flat when they're in pressure situations and in like higher and the lead going into final rounds. Speaking of, we'll talk about this on Thursday, but Calvin Heimberg's coming up on a calendar year without a win this weekend. Right. So Calvin Heimberg, when he comes out of a tournament and is not rising to the moment, he just plays flat for the entire round. It feels like everything isn't working. Anthony Barela has always been one to blow up in explosive fashion, right? He'll hold on for most of the round, and you'll see some mistakes here and there, but then he'll have one mistake that he just compounds and compounds and compounds. Multiple putts, multiple throws, where he just can't put it together. That to me feels like that's gone away. He's matured. He has just kind of a recognition and a sense about the game, in addition to the mental fortitude that I think comes with being able to rely on now 2 Elite Series victories, that maybe this may happen again, but it's not something that I would bank on like I did in previous seasons.
His game just looks more mature. It looks more in control. You know, there were a lot of, especially when he was, the stretch of golf that he played from basically like hole 12 or 13 in the round 1 through the middle of the front 9 in the final round. I believe, actually I can pull it up. I said it on the air. He birdied, I think, 23 of 25 holes across those 3 rounds, which is truly crazy. And the two pars that he had were the 2 in his round. So he birdied 13 to 18 in round 1, then continued with holes 1 through 5 in round 2, took a par on 6, birdied 7 to 14, took a par on 15, and then birdied out. And then to start round 3, he went birdie. And if you want to keep it going, he took a par on 3 and then birdie on 4 and 5. And it honestly, it looked like we were seeing basically a continuation of just like completely locked in at AB, and there was just no way anybody was going to be able to catch him.
Yeah.
And at this time, Ezra's playing amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Ezra sets the birdie streak of the season so far with 9 in a row from holes 2 to 10, and then he falls apart. And midway through the round, Anthony Barela starts to get a little squirrely with his drives. He's early releasing. He's going into the OB. He's hitting trees. All of a sudden, he's not in position. And then Gannon Buhr says, you know what? How about I do you one better, Ezra? And he birdies 10 in a row from holes 9 to 18, including 2 holes where he almost aced, including the 18th.
Yeah.
It was a crazy level of golf this weekend.
And I think I'm so glad that Gannon was shooting the way he was, because at first you're like, oh, Ezra's really pushing, gets it down to 3 strokes. And then Ezra just goes ice cold. I mean, that separation just grew back so quickly when he goes bogey, par, birdie, par, birdie, par, right? Like just ice cold. So I'm so glad that Gannon steps up, because I think it would have been hard to engage in the front 9, because Gannon shoots a very respectable 6 under in the front 9, but being 8 strokes back would not have intrigued me, given that Anthony Barela shot 5 under, I think. Yeah, 5 under through the front 9. And so, given that that's the case,
it was actually
it was
6 under in the front 9. Yeah.
So after the front 9, they both have, there's still an 8-stroke gap, right? And that then, still wouldn't be very compelling in the front 9. But thank goodness Ezra is there as well, and then get the challenge from Gannon. Very exciting round though, an exciting finish, and Anthony Barela having to keep track of both of them. Just an impressive performance to hang on and get that win.
It was actually a 9-stroke gap through the front 9 between Buhr and Barela, which I wish now that you just literally mentioned this, I'm like, damn, I should have mentioned that on the broadcast because that is so crazy.
Yeah.
He's down 9 shots with 9 holes to play, and he ends up losing by a stroke. Now, that's a little misleading. Barela laid up on 18, so
Sure.
and it was a very makeable putt. So he certainly could have made that putt.
Probably
and it was better.
2 strokes.
But he was able to get to the point where Anthony had to make putts, or it felt like if he had missed a putt on 16 or 17, I'm not sure that he wins the tournament. Obviously, he still would have had the stroke. Who knows? But I feel like that would have gotten into his head. It's a whole different level of pressure, especially after Gannon parks it on the 18th.
Could you imagine if he aced it?
Oh my God. That would have been absolutely wild. We'll get to our hole 18 review. Par 3, man. I don't know.
I have feelings.
Okay, we'll get to it. I want to emphasize the level of quality, okay? Because I feel like it's easy to overlook how good the level of play was this weekend. 1077 rating for Barela on the event. That's the highest of the year. That's the highest since when? I mean, I'll look it up. It has been a while. That's the highest on tour since Ledgestone 2019 for Macbeth, 1084. And the third highest all time at DPT or major. Actually, wait. I have a search on.
Is European Open included in that 2 years ago?
I don't think that was above 1077.
Was it not?
I don't think so.
Let's take a look.
Yeah, what I said is true. It's not the third highest all time, though, because I wasn't including NTs.
Oh.
If you include NTs, it's the sixth highest all time. There is a memorial, and there's 3 memorials in that list.
It doesn't count. Cut those out right now.
There's 3 memorials in that list. So the non-memorial events are Ledgestone Macbeth 1084, Masters Cup Macbeth 1078. Wow, that was 2017. I don't think I've watched that, or I probably did at the time. I want to go back. That's crazy. And Ricky Texas State's 1085 when it was in Austin back in 2014. So there's that. Okay. Now I'm going to keep it going for you, Josh.
Okay.
Gannon Burr averages a 1074. That's the 4th highest event rating of all time to not win at an Elite Series or a major. 2 of the 3 rounds in front of him were memorial rounds.
Gannon Burr's got second place.
And I'm sorry. That's not Elite Series or major. That's literally all time.
Wow.
Because number 1 was 1081 Macbeth 2013 Memorial. That's when he shot the highest rated round of all time, and he didn't win the tournament.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah.
Nicola Castro 2012 Tri-Cities, a B tier, shot 1077 and didn't win. So does that count? And then
more so than the memorial.
Schusterich 2012 Memorial shoots 1076 and doesn't win. And then it's Burr at this year's Texas States at 1074, tied with Macbeth 2021 Belton when it was, I think Ricky won that year. That was like the Macbeth Ricky throwback duel. So I'm not done. Not done. Okay. There were 6 players. This one comes from Josiah in the Discord. There were 6 MPO players who finished above the cash line while shooting their best event of their career by rating this past weekend. Number 1, first place finisher, Anthony Barela, 1077. His previous best was 1060. Again, this is the average over the tournament. Number 2, Gannon Burr, who improved from a 1068 all-time to 1074. Number 3, Ezra Aderholz, who went from 1061 previously to 1066. Okay, so the guys at the top of the leaderboard literally shot career ratings. Now, perhaps this opens the question of, are the ratings inflated at this course? A reasonable question to ask. But I will continue the list just to give the shout out. First top 10 finish ever for Braden Sides, who shoots a 1044 rating. Randon Latta also shoots his best ever rating, and Randy Dweck, who finished in 27th. Okay, I think I have one more thing for you here.
Okay.
not only did we get the first 1,100 plus rated round since Jonesboro last year for James Conrad, it was the first tournament with two 1,100 plus rated rounds in 5 years, since 2019 Worlds when Ricky and Paul did it.
Wow.
And I want to point out, Josh, that I feel there is some symbolism, perhaps, that for the first time in 5 years, we have double 1,100 rated rounds at an event, and they come from Anthony Barela and Gannon Buhr, who I think are the consensus two best players on tour right now. And that puts them in a category with Paul and Ricky from 5 years ago. And doesn't that sound like maybe it's telling us something about what we're going to see in the next 5 years?
Maybe it does. I love that. I mean,
I'm done now, so go ahead.
You're done. Okay, cool. Get a drink, Charlie. Sit back for a minute. Even if the ratings were inflated at this tournament, which I think is fair to assume, but at the end of the day, they're not inflated for the same reason, right? It's not inflated for the fact that all of the bottom half of the field goes OB in the water every hole because they can't reach it, and then the top half parks it with no problem. Looking at you, Memorial. So even if it is a little bit inflated, it passes like the test, like the sniff test, right? That it felt like there was that level of compelling golf because
I mean the rounds from Gannon and AB were
legit.
Were special.
They're legit.
They were really,
yes.
really special.
And when you're watching other players around them struggling in that like the same holes, I really do think that there was something exciting about this, and I think you're absolutely right. Like this sets up a sort of preview about the level of golf both that Anthony and Gannon have played, and as well as for what the future could hold between these two players. At a point that it's interesting because when we've looked, and I don't know the best way to phrase this, there are a lot of really talented young players on tour, right? We talk about a lot of them. I'm going to put Kyle Klein at the top of this list here because sometimes I think he gets put at the bottom of the list. Kyle Klein, Isaac Robinson, Nicholas Ontala, Cole Riddallin, right? Lots of young,
all who have won, and very talented players. It feels like Gannon, both because of his age and the amount that he's won. Like we've talked a lot about Gannon being the guy, though, right? And if you were to put money on any of these players, Gannon is the guy that you put money on. If Anthony Barela continues this level of play, we're going to have a hard look about which one is going to be the guy. And that is something that I think is just absolutely exciting, that you have both of those players playing at a level that just makes you really think about what the future of disc golf gets to be. Crazy, man. I mean, I think Barela's ceiling is a little bit higher because of arm speed and his just raw ability to attack certain holes better than literally anybody else. But Gannon is the better putter and the more decorated player already. He's got a major win, and I think doesn't play fearfully at all when the pressure is on. And I think we saw that AB, while he did, yes, ultimately clutch up, hit the putts that he needed, make the shots he needed down the stretch, he almost gave it away. He almost blew what was in the middle of the round, a 9-shot lead over Gannon Buhr. He almost blew it, which is, it literally would have been a historic comeback had Gannon completed it. So, credit to AB for hitting the putts that he needed, but, it does give you the sense that like Gannon's right there.
Absolutely.
A couple spit outs away from having a playoff.
You got to consider the age as well. Like, I think the difference between being 19 and 24, 25, that's a huge difference.
It's true.
It's a huge difference.
But, again, Barela has leveled up. His putting stats are noticeably better. He's shooting 5% better in C1X this season than he did a year ago. That's a huge upgrade.
It is.
His circle 2 putting is better. His control on tee shots is better. He's not just blasting everything super hard all the time. He's throwing, he's slowing down and throwing like putters and looking really touchy with his shots. And Paul Macbeth was talking to Brian Earhart and said that he's also disking up sometimes and like powering down on faster discs and able to do more shot shaping with that. So he's really just expanded his repertoire of shot making abilities. And I think that this course really shows you that, right? You have to have a backhand, a forehand, flex, a hyzer flip. And like we saw all that stuff from AB.
Yep. You know, he is a talented and unlike some players who throw really far, but like that's their thing. I especially think over on the FPO side, who they throw really far, but they struggle in other aspects of the game. Anthony Barela has a complete game. And if he can continue to play in a good mental headspace, unstoppable.
Yep. I mean, the putting improvement is really a big deal.
Yeah.
It's probably saving him 2 or 3 strokes around compared to the past. And that compounds as tournaments move along. So what a weekend. Very exciting stuff. What was anticipated to be a boring final round was anything but. It was awesome disc golf.
Yeah.
Speaking of FPO, let's talk about Anniken Steen, who becomes another new winner on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. 5 straight different winners, 5 straight different nationalities represented this season. Norwegian, Estonian, Laotian, American, and...
Finnish.
I'm frozen. Finnish, of course. Evelina at chess.com. So Anniken Steen had never shot a 1,000 rated round before, and then she shot 3 in a row to win the tournament. Josh, what the heck? Anniken Steen? Out of nowhere. Off the top rope.
No, it really did feel, out of nowhere. And that I remember seeing, because on Friday doing work, I kind of check the scores and seeing her and just thinking like, wow, that's all right. You know what? You put together one great round. Good for you. And then she did it again, and I was like, another 10 down. I'm like, okay, all right, this might be getting legit. And honestly, I'm gonna be real with you. We got to hole 18. She's in the lead. She throws, and her putt was down the hill, right? And was outside circle 1, down the hill, and Kristen's going up, and I'm like, I still don't think she's going to get it. I thought Kristen was going to get it. I thought she was going to stick it in the island, and it was going to go to a playoff, and Kristen's experience was going to show through at that playoff, and I was wrong. And she gets the win. 942 is that feels kind of like the 10-20 mark to me in MPO, between the 10 or maybe the 10, like higher 10-20s to the low 10-30s, when you consider the like where that sits in the division. And I'm pulling that up right now. Never mind. No, I'm not. I still can't search by rating on the PDGA page. Love that. Anyways, that's what it feels like to me. And I guess we can look at the just the tournament here and see where that would put her in terms of rating. She's that puts her in the top 20, but definitely not near the top.
Right. I believe, certainly in FPO.
Yeah.
She's the first player to win. She sets the record for lowest rating by rank. As in, like, if you listed all the players by their rating, by rank, to win an event. So, Kona...
Yes, that was going to be my question.
When she won 2021 Waco, shot 70 points above her rating to win. Anniken shot 64 points above her rating to win. Kona shot a 997 event. Anniken shot a 1,006 unofficial. This is from Steve in the Ulti World Disc Golf Discord. So Kona officially like has that edge in terms of like playing above your rating.
Sure.
But Kona was like, I think around 15th in like by rank, and Sten was below that. So, it certainly felt to me at the time like Kona, it was still like a surprise win in a way, but she was a much more known quantity on tour. Like she had been in the top 10 a bunch. Yes. And Anniken Steen is a name that I know, but is not somebody that we've ever really seen. I mean, she had a 5th place finish at Waco, I think 2-3 years ago, but she's not somebody who's up at the top.
No, she's not. And that's kind of what I was trying to get at, right? 940 is not, it's not like a 900 rated player, right? Shout out to Emily Weatherman getting a top 10 finish, 909 rated. Charlie, you called that spot on during
Bingo
the week.
Bango.
Impressive. But if Emily Weatherman had won this tournament, that feels like Connor O'Reilly winning.
Oh yeah,
right. Like just
that would have been totally
out of left
crazy.
field. Yes, Anniken is a good player, and her rating reflects that she is a middle of the pack player, and competes well. But this very much was an impressive victory, and one that I didn't expect for sure. And let me give you a couple of stats here, Charlie, as well. Well, at least one other stat. Last season, she made a total of $9,400 in prize winnings. For reference, this season now, and she played a pretty complete tour. She played a lot of DGPT events, and when she wasn't playing DGPT events, she was playing EPT events, and so fairly complete tour. Not for European standards.
She played a lot of European tournaments relative to many of the other big European players.
Yes, but she was in the U.S. It's not like she played like 3 and was done. Right. It looks like she played 8-9 DGPT events, so and cashed at most of them, but was lower on the cash when she was cashing. This season now, with a $5,500 victory, she's already at $7,500. She's only $2,000 behind her entire last season.
Love it.
But even then, like, she had 3 tournaments last year where she made $1,000 in cash money, and she is at 2 of those 3 already this season. So it just feels like she's playing. She hasn't missed cash.
She's clearly improved her game. Yes. I mean, I think it's obvious. I don't know exactly what to expect. I don't expect her to win again this season. I do think the course set up really well for her as a left-handed player with sort of like slightly above average throw distance. But she looks great. Like as a putter, she looks great. I'm actually going to pull up some stats because I want to see how she compares to last year.
Okay.
On some of the statistical categories. I have secret access to season aggregated stats.
I was about to say, is there season aggregated
stat Mando access?
Oh my goodness.
I have the power. I assume that these are going to get put onto the internet soon because it's all in an Excel spreadsheet right now. So the data exists. I'm not really sure why it hasn't made its way online yet, but I will gladly have the access for now. But look, this course it was truly one of the most birdie or die courses we've ever seen for FPO. Mm-hmm. Right, clearly designed to be scoreable for a 900 level player. Right, this was not bleeding edge of the future course design like OTB.
Nope.
Where like distance is at a huge premium. Like, sure, there are holes where if like Evelina had an eagle putt on a short par 4 on this course that other players were not getting a look at for the most part. But it was a very straightforward, pretty easy course. Mm-hmm. A lot of flat shots, par 4s, pretty much second shot was what it was all about. Like, could you put yourself in a position to be able to attack? And obviously, if you can bite off more distance off the tee shot, it makes the second shot easier. But there were a lot of holes where even if you shorted your drive, you could still birdie. And, it puts a certain amount of pressure on the top players to be able to execute. And you have to hit your putts. You have to be able to be precise with your upshots. And Anniken Steen did those things. Mm-hmm. She, I believe in round 2, had a look at birdie on every single hole.
Yes, 100% in circle 2 in regulation.
She was 15 for 18 from circle 2 in regulation in round 3. She was 18 for 18 in round 2, and she was 12 for 18 in round 1. So, like, she played the most consistent this weekend. Mm-hmm. She was consistently the best, right? So Kristen had the huge 12 under course record in round 2, but had a terrible round 1. And that's why she didn't win. Mm-hmm. And obviously the big thing is Anniken able to go head to head with Owen and Kristen, the 2 top players in the world, and beat them when Kristen was playing well. Owen honestly was not. Her putter just totally abandoned her at the worst time. Mm-hmm. But Anniken didn't freeze up, choke, or anything else. And who knows, right? That her shot on 18 was very close to hitting that tree and dropping straight down into the OB.
It did hit the tree, right? It just fell in bounds. Yeah,
it hit the tree, and it just punched through a little bit. You think about how things could be different, but Kristen juiced it OB long again. Mm-hmm. She did it in round 1, and I didn't like the disc choice for her there. That's surprising to me. She's like throwing fairway driver on such a short hole. Like, I guess because she's trying to fight the wind. I don't know. Odd choice, I thought.
Especially, I don't know. If I'm Kristen, my goal is to just bury it into the hill an inch and a half above Anniken. and
make
just
her putt first.
Make her putt first. Yeah. Same distance. Say, you know what? Look, if you want to win this tournament, you're gonna have to putt. You're gonna have to make this putt over me, and just put it right there and make her do it first. But as soon as Anniken, because you're right, like that shot wasn't clean from Anniken. It got a fortunate push to get onto the green, and I think on hole 17, Anniken was obviously a nervous wreck. Yeah. She switched discs at the last second on hole 17 on the tee pad, chooses to lay up, and then when she goes to run her putt, like that disc went straight into the ground. It did not even make it to the basket. And you could tell that she was trying to force herself to run it or to at least give it a bid, and it just did not happen. I really think things could have been very different, but Kristen, that's a poor mistake. It's a poor mistake from Kristen.
Yeah, I mean, she's been a little off. Mm-hmm. Let's be honest. She's talked about, fatigue of travel, back pain. She had the ankle thing. But I think the round 1 she played here was kind of inexplicable. Just a terrible round for a player of her caliber. She shoots a 5 under. She has 2 bogeys on a course where she should basically never be bogeying. Mm-hmm. She only has 7 birdies. And obviously she showed us in round 2 what she's capable of, which is the highest caliber of play in the division. Mm-hmm. But, she was icy.
Yeah.
And, she missed a circle 1 putt. She went 0 for 3 from circle 2. She went out of bounds twice. Just a really bad round. Maybe her worst round of the year. I don't know if it would come in that way as at a rating level. It was 964 rated. Pretty bad.
Pretty bad.
Her quest, Josh, for 1,000 rated in the April update. Texas claims another victim. She may have done enough to be able to give it a shot in the May update. I mean, she's going to have the shot the whole year, basically.
Yeah.
But she's going to have to average a little above 1,000, but clearly she averaged 1,000 this weekend, by the way.
Yes, she did. Yep. When Paige was shooting for 1,000 rated, though, I think she dropped like several rating points.
Oh, she dropped big time.
Yeah.
Because that there was like weird. Paige's entire chase for 1,000 was a little inflated because of COVID. And so there was like a a smaller number of rounds that were counting. And so she basically had this tiny window to do it because she was going to drop a bunch of really good rounds. And then she didn't do it. She played bad in Texas.
You're ready for the
Hawaii
numbers?
And then came back,
She was rated 996 at the March 9th update in 2021. Okay. And this is where we're like, okay, she needs to play well in Texas. She played poorly in Texas, dropped down to 977 rated. the next month.
Wow.
And you're right. Like, that was the whole COVID thing, number of rounds, etc. That is not the case for Kristen, right? If Kristen drops, it's going to be by a single rating point, is in my assumption.
Yeah.
And that is still something that she could overcome in the month of April and on. So the hunt is not over, but it won't be this. It won't be this month.
All right, I got some stats for you on Anniken Steen real quick.
Okay.
Last year, 23% Circle 1 in regulation, 45% Circle 2 in regulation.
Okay.
This year, 30% Circle 1 in regulation, 51% Circle 2 in regulation.
Wow. That is
noticeable improvement there, 7 percentage points in both. You know, how much of this is due to the courses so far this season? It's a totally fair question to ask. Putting also improved. Her putting last year was 72 and 12. This year, 72 and 24. So, I mean, I will say she looked like a very confident edge of circle putter.
I agree with that.
She was knocking them down from circle's edge. Like, even in that 40 feet and in, she was dangerous. So that seems like maybe an area where she's upped her game. Even Circle 1 putting, obviously, basically the same. But, if her Circle 2 putting and her ability to get to the green are improved, like, obviously you're going to birdie a lot more.
It's a lot of strokes.
It's a lot of strokes. Okay, I have one other thought here before we go to break. I have a couple other things, actually.
I have one thing, too.
Go ahead. You go first.
I'll hit it first. We've talked a lot about this. This is our 5th unique winner, but it's also the 5th winner, as you mentioned, Charlie, earlier, that she had to shoot over 1,000 rated to win. That is now 5 tournaments in a row to start 2024 that you had to shoot over 1,000 rated if you wanted to win. Last season, this is not in consecutive order, but all together last season in Elite Series and Majors, where FPO had to shoot over 1,000 to win, there were only 8 of them total, and we are already at 5.
Wow.
Not only is it just like that feeling to begin the season, but it is very much so. And 4 of those were Kristen at majors when she won her majors.
Wow.
So there are others that Kristen owns as well, but I mean, we are only 1 major in and 4 Elite Series. We already have as many Elite Series that have been over 1,000 rated as we had all of last season. That
is crazy.
Yeah.
So for 2023, event rating over 1,000. I feel like it's more than you just said. I think it is more than you just said.
Okay.
How many did you say it was?
I said it was 8.
2. Oh, those are silvers. Let me throw those out.
Yeah, you got to throw silvers out.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Never mind.
Okay.
4 of 8 were Kristen. That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
And 3 of those were at the majors.
Oh, it was 3. Okay, my bad.
I think, which one? Oh, U.S. Women's, she did not shoot above 1,000.
Okay.
It was like right around 1,000. But Haley did it last year. Owen did it last year. Katrina, Paige Pierce.
Yep. And then Kristen.
And then Kristen. A bunch.
4 times, actually.
Stan, by the way, 83% C1X, 35% Circle 2 putting this weekend. So
great numbers.
Really good numbers, like bordering on an MPO level putting.
Yep.
Anniken Steen has played in the same field at Elite Series or Majors with Kristen 50 times.
Okay,
career. Only 2 of those times has she beat Kristen by score. One of those times was round 1 of this tournament.
Did she not do it in other rounds? No, she didn't.
Think so.
Kristen beat her in both round 2 and round 3.
That's right.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
That's crazy.
That's impressive. All the more impressive to be able to, stare Kristen down and close out this tournament.
All right. So just to follow up on the point that you just made, the first 4 tournaments from last year, LVC, Waco, Austin, and Texas States, and the U.S. Women's Championship, which was, of course, later in the season.
Okay. Got it.
The winner's average was 991. Okay. The first 5 tournaments of this year, Chess, Waco, Austin, U.S. Women's, Texas States, winner's tournament average 10-12. So
20 points.
20 points better. My
Man.
question to you, Josh, is what's going on? Is this simply the FPO field getting better? Or is there something to the courses and what's going on at the beginning of the season that is yielding this?
Well, we have talked about this tournament. To me, could be the exception, right? I think that there's some question marks around this tournament, at least on the MPO side. But the FPO track is completely different. But it still did feel a little bit soft. But here's my thoughts really to this point. Last season, when Kristen's, it's interesting because Kristen's level of play, even though it doesn't feel like she's been quite as sharp as she has in past seasons, is still incredibly high. And, she's shot 1,000 rated at all of the events so far. Or maybe she missed it. I don't remember. Did she miss it open at Austin?
I'm not positive. I'll check while you
okay,
talk.
while you're checking. Well, I guess she couldn't have because she didn't average 1,000 rated during the stretch. So there was, maybe it was U.S. Women's. Anyway, she missed 1,000 at one tournament, but
she shot 985 at U.S. Women's.
Okay, 985.
Otherwise, it's been 1,000 or better.
So, all in all, while it hasn't felt to the same level as Kristen usually sets, she did win an event last year. She won Music City Open with a 987 rated tournament. Paige won the Open at Austin last year with a 971. So the point is that I'm making here is that Kristen's not sorry, those were their current ratings. I was wrong about that. Those were their ratings at the time. Better reference, Waco, Kristen won with a 987 last year. So there you go. But the point I'm trying to make, Kristen's level of play, even though it does not feel as sharp as it's been, by rating, by actual statistical performance, is very comparable to what it was last season. The difference is that other FPO players didn't play to that level, and so Kristen was able to walk it in. And this season, they play slightly above the Kristen bar, and in order to play slightly above the Kristen bar, you have to shoot 1,000 rated. And more players are doing that. More players are reaching above that. I think this is showing that the committee is stepping up and that there is somebody from the committee who is beating Kristen out now 4 out of the 5 times to begin this season, which I just don't feel like was ever the case really over on last season. So that's the difference. That's all it takes.
So much good stuff to digest from this weekend. More to come. On the other side of the break, we're going to talk about too much Texas. We have a brand new segment, the trivia question of the week. We're going to talk about some April Fool's stuff. And of course, we have Pursewatch, picks, and Hole 18 review. Got to do it. We'll be back. The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bags in the sport. I mentioned last week, Sexathorpe Earth, Nate Sexton's signature bag, available. The party edition is now available as well. So head over to pounddiscgolf.com to check that out. And you can get a ton of new Octagoat stamped Innova discs. You know what? They have pretty much everything you could be looking for. You want a Toro, you want a Rolo, Polecat, Destroyer, bunch of Halo discs. They got a bunch of different stuff. So go over and check out what they've got and grab yourself a Pound Disc Golf disc to go in your Pound bag today. The Upshot is presented by Sunset Lake CBD, a farm that originally started as a dairy farm producing milk and cream for Ben & Jerry's ice cream, but they've since diversified and started growing hemp for CBD. You got to check their products out. This is the highest quality CBD. Really super nice packaging. Obviously really nice quality products themselves. I've been using the muscle rub when I have sore muscles. Feels fantastic. Smells great. Really, really nice to be able to use that instead of, taking Tylenol or something like that. And you can save on Sunset Lake CBD products right now. You just got to go to sunsetlakecbd.com, use coupon code UPSHOT, and you will save 20% off your entire order. And hey, heads up, 420 sale. It's coming soon. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Upshot. It's time for a brand new segment. It's the trivia question of the week. Josh, are you ready for this week's trivia question?
I am. Question for you, Charlie. Is this going to be like applicable disc golf trivia, or is this going to be like how many cats has Kristen Tatar owned in her lifetime? Like,
I think it will generally be normal like disc golf stat stuff.
Okay. All right.
But, we might mix in some pop culture stuff.
Okay.
Movies. I don't know. Fun facts about players.
Okay.
But, if it's just like random nonsense that you couldn't possibly know, I doubt we would do that most of the time. Unless I'm just trying to pull a wool over your eyes.
See, I've got to check. I just didn't know. I didn't know. So
this is a question that you could answer if you have a good memory.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Out of the 16 Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite Series and the Tour Championship last season, okay,
not including majors.
Excluding the majors,
okay,
how many of the 16 did Kristen Tatar win?
My gut is telling me 5. So that's
insane. That is the right answer.
Is right. That's right. I was thinking it was 9 total. I was thinking she had won 9 because I remember it wasn't quite.
So you remember
50%.
that she had won. That's a good way to.
I remember that she'd won 9, so I took out our majors and so 5 was my guess.
That's a good way to do this. But I thought that's pretty interesting.
That
she
is
only won
interesting.
5 of 16 last year. Okay.
Only.
So I mean, yes,
33% almost.
Sure, I hear you. The events, in case you're wondering, PCS Open, Des Moines Challenge, Portland Open, Music City Open, and Waco. So those were the ones that she won.
Okay.
Which is to say that there were a lot of other players who won last year.
Yeah.
Besides Kristen. It's just that Kristen won a lot of DGPT events, the most of anybody, of course, and then also swept the majors.
Right.
Making it an incredible season. If she won no DGPT event, well, she already won one. So let's say she doesn't win another one, but she sweeps the majors again.
Well, she can't.
She's still pody.
She is.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. No, that's not possible now. Yes.
Your counterfactual, Charlie, was just a train wreck to begin. Yeah.
What a
dead on
disaster.
arrival.
Oh,
but let me put it to your point. Let's say she switches. She didn't win U.S. Women's, but she did win Waco. Is that the one she won?
Yes.
Okay. But then she wins the other 3 majors. She's still pody.
Yeah, easy. I think if you win a majority of the majors, that's good enough to win podium,
yeah.
including in MPO. Right? If Isaac had won one more major, he's pody.
Without a doubt.
Right?
He wins one more Elite Series. I think he was pody. But anyway, we're not gonna.
It was close. We're not gonna go back down that rabbit hole. Josh, was there too much Texas on tour again this year?
You sure bet you there was, Charlie. But I think it's a little bit of a different reason here than in previous seasons. I will say, I enjoyed the golf significantly more this season.
Oh,
than
far and away better.
And I think that's a couple of reasons. Number one, I liked that there was Lake Waco and we had a different course. I thought that the Open at Austin was significantly improved. And I also enjoyed, and I think the fact then that, and we talked about this, I think in the sub bonuses, it was, the season starting off with chess.com instead of Florida means that I have significantly, like, I have more space for enjoyment and tolerance of the Texas swing that has always felt comparable to Vegas, right? Vegas, desert, open, golf course. Like, I don't know, that into Texas to me, always I struggled with. And so starting out in Florida and then moving into Texas swing gave me a lot more, just like this tournament this weekend, this birdie fest, right? It's not my typical like enjoyment of what I want out of a course, but because of the way it fit into the schedule, I enjoyed it significantly more than I had in the past. That being said, and this, Charlie, I think is something that we're about to talk about, I think that it created a spectator problem And that is something that is noticeable on tournaments and in purses. I'll let you go over for a minute, and because I know we're going to transition this topic.
Yeah, I mean, this weekend it was clear that spectator numbers were a little thin.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was certainly enough people to make it feel like a fun, good, enriching broadcast. There was crowd sound and all that. But, when Barela was tapping in on 18, it was there's not that many people there. And, part of that, of course, is it was Easter Sunday. So there's definitely going to be people who had other plans, couldn't be there. So like that probably depressed turnout somewhat. But across the board, attendance is down across the board. Now, the majority of these tournaments have taken place in Texas so far. So is there an impact there of too much choice, because overall, if you added up all the spectators across these Texas events, it's probably not terrible. But, take me back to Waco right out of COVID when it was just jammed with people. Now, maybe the ship has sailed. Maybe we are seeing the contraction of disc golf, but the numbers online aren't grim. In fact, I forgot to mention this earlier. FPO set a concurrent viewership record on DGN in the final round.
Wow.
Record all time.
That's great.
Right. So people are watching.
Yeah.
I just feel like for whatever reason, and maybe the reason is simply that there's too many tournaments within too close of a range. Houston's only under 3 hours from the Austin and Waco events.
That was about to be my question.
Do we really need to have this many And obviously U.S. Women's was an extra wrinkle there. Apparently attendance there was terrible. But you can't have a tournament in Austin and then a tournament in Austin again and expect to get good crowds at both.
Nope.
You just can't.
And that right there, I think, is the number one problem with having this many tournaments in Texas. Because when you think of other DGBT events, you are going to pull crowds from a large swath of that geographic region.
Of course.
There really aren't that many.
People drive to go to Ledgestone.
Yes. There are not that many tournaments, geographically speaking, that when one does come to your area, you're going to get a good surrounding regional pull. And especially for some that are on the West Coast, Oregon, California, the Preserve up in Minnesota, right? Those are pulling large swaths of geographic regions because there just aren't other closer options. When you put 4 in Texas within 3 hours of each other, not only do you split the local scene, right? Oh, I'm busy this weekend, so I'm going to go to my family reunion like I planned, and instead I'll just go next weekend to Austin instead. You just gives people so many options that of course, attendance is going to be split. And it means that your out-of-staters aren't going to all travel on one weekend to come see the tournament that are, the out-of-staters who are closer to Texas than they are another tournament.
Well, part of the problem, Josh, is that these cities are hella far from places outside of Texas.
And there's another problem.
Maybe if you live in New Orleans, you would go to Houston, but they don't have a tournament in Dallas-Fort Worth.
Uh-huh.
So Waco is I don't know, it's probably an hour, 90 minutes south of the DFW area. So Waco is fine. We'll throw a Texas map up here on the screen real quick. People in Oklahoma City and who live in Oklahoma maybe would travel down to go to Waco, but Austin's pretty far. But Waco, Austin, and Houston are within 3 hours of each other. So they had 4 tournaments this year in basically the same area. So obviously you're going to struggle with attendance for that.
Yep.
So what's the plan here long term? It's not like the Houston event blew the doors off with attendance, which is that's the point of being in Houston, right? You want to be in this big city, but instead you're seeing better at Waco. So then just stop it. I don't understand. I don't understand the plan here. I feel like maybe there's an overplaying of the hand after seeing that there was great crowds in Texas back in 2021. And it's now, actually, we probably should only have 2 tournaments in Texas, and it would be ideal if they were at different times of year.
Uh-huh. And you ready for another fact about that? You said Oklahoma City, for example, right? Well, guess what? Oklahoma City is almost as close to Jonesboro as it is to Austin.
There you go.
So because you start, once you get up to Oklahoma and then above, you're able to capture all of that group with your West Coast swing.
Yeah, Jonesboro is great because it's close to St. Louis, Memphis. You know, you're even like people might drive from Nashville, even though they have their own tournament. I just think, you know, right now it's just too much. And like Austin, Waco, and Houston are pretty geographically isolated from most of the rest of Texas, let alone other cities and states.
And
I mean, Albuquerque, where I grew up, which, you know, I don't know what if you live in New Mexico, you just don't get to go see in-person disc golf, I think. It's just all too far away.
You ready for, you know what you do in Albuquerque? You make a vacation out of it, and I guarantee you nobody's going to the Open at Austin as their vacation choice for disc golf.
Of course.
Right?
They're going to go to Worlds, or they're going to go to USDGC or something.
Right, or MVP Open, or exactly.
Right.
Or they're going to make a West Coast swing, and they're going to go to Portland and play all the courses up there. That's the problem. And it is, I'm sorry, it is too much disc golf in one state. I don't care what the PDGA percentage of Texas is. It's too much.
It was fine on television, I think.
It was.
Like, if you're watching from home, like, I think I'm definitely ready to be done, but it's not like last year where I was, like, complaining one tournament in.
I was about to say. Yep.
All right.
But, Charlie, if we can, I would like to do Pursewatch next, because I think...
Oh, sure.
That's going to explain something that we're about to see here in Pursewatch.
Let's rock and roll it. Here we go. 56,870 for MPO, 25,691 for FPO, for a total purse of 82,561. That is the lowest purse so far on tour this year. It was 10,000 to the MPO winner and 5,500 to FPO. I actually think they might have juiced the purse. I heard a lower number for MPO when I was on the ground, so I wonder if they bumped it up to get to that 10K mark.
Yeah, because, and I think, what was the payout?
I heard it was going to be 7,500. I wonder if the person who said that was wrong, or if, like, last minute the tour was like, yikes, we gotta make it 10K.
Well, let me look at something really fast. I guess it's not a significant difference, but Open at Austin, second place got $6,000, and here they got 5,500.
Okay.
So
purse was up 77% from a year ago. Obviously a big leap, but this was now going from silver to elite, which naturally means, you know, the requirement is a lot higher for added cash.
Yeah.
But this does come in about $5,000 below Open at Austin in terms of total purse, despite having a bigger field.
Yeah. Let me. These are the two numbers that I think are the most devastating for this tournament. Number one, it had 8 more players than Open at Austin and still comes out less than in terms of total purse. But this tournament had less payout than U.S. Women's did with only the FPO field. It had half as many players. And now that's a major, right? And majors have additional added cash, additional monies. We get that. But this still, in terms, and I see you putting this number in here now, and I think this is the number that we'll start using a little more frequently because I think it's a very valuable number. The payout dollar per person in this tournament was only $480. Open at Austin was $531. It was $51 more per player. And I think part of payout numbers comes from spectator sales and tickets. And
I think a lot of times, though, yeah, you're
right.
You're definitely right. You're definitely right.
And so nobody's showing up.
Yeah. And I think maybe they are able to make some adjustments after the fact. They obviously have a pretty good sense of what the ticket sales are going to be before the tournament because they're selling. I do want to note, speaking of attendance stuff, I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but Europe apparently is selling amazing. We got an email and like stuff's selling out like within hours after being released. And this is, remember, Europe is not used to paying for tickets.
Yep.
And it seems like things are going really well. I think we might see some amazing crowds over in Europe this year. So TBD on that, but we got an email from a European listener who mentioned that. So I just wanted to point that out. The high model work in dollars per person right now is U.S. Women's with a field of only 97 players and a purse of $86,000. That's $891 per person. That's just for FPO.
Honestly, it was a great payout.
Good stuff.
They needed more credit. That they did an excellent job on the payout there.
The highest on the TGPT so far has been Waco at $645 per player in the field. So
Waco's
US Women's coming in $250 higher, basically.
Yeah. Waco's also stepped it up. They were the lowest payout in 2022. and now are on the Elite Plus event. And please, they have the Elite Plus designation and are coming in at what looks like a pretty good clip right now. So
yeah, 103,000 total purse. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. April Fool's was yesterday. Hope you didn't get fooled. We saw some stuff in the disc golf world that we thought we would share. Some fun moments. Maybe you saw these. Let's kick it off with a classic, which is Innova is now smart and selling products. The Halo Polecat, was that last year or 2 years ago? I don't remember.
Think it was only last year.
I think it was 2 years ago because last year they did a Sexton thing.
Oh, that's right. All right, 2 years. And last year was the Sexton Firebird with like the hand drawn.
The hand drawn. Yeah. This year, Calvin Heimberg Tour Series Halo Groove sold out immediately.
Yeah. Innova does April Fool's best as a manufacturer because they make a ton of money from their things. Like,
yeah, well, I don't know how much money they're actually making because, like, how many grooves did they make? I
don't know, but
might be thousands.
I assume even if it was only 1,000, you assume they probably upcharged it because it's a tour series. They probably made a decent chunk of money from this.
$21 a disc. I guess Vinny's going to get a cut, right?
I hope so. He deserves it.
It says, this cool cat chose the Halo Star Groove as his 2024 Tour Series disc.
Here's the other thing.
For those that don't know, who are new to the sport, the Groove is basically like one of the worst discs of released all time by Innova. It was like so bad they put it out of production.
Yeah.
Everybody thought it was going to be awesome, and then it was terrible.
It was so bad. It's got a weird rim, feels terrible. Like, anyway, what I think is impressive about Innova, two things. Number one is that they're able to take products that people have like historically hated right. and build the hype to sell those. And then number two, they are very in tune with like the online just kind of like ecosystem, I guess is the best way to put it, because they've hit the nail on the head the past couple of years, right? Halo Polecat was all the rage during COVID and they got it out, right?
And that was awesome because it was a surprise, right?
Yes.
I forget what it was now.
It was the DX. Remember they sold it was the DX one, and then they sent the Halo
with a Halo stamp, right?
Yes.
It was what it was. But then in the box was an actual Halo Polecat.
Yes.
So good.
So good. And then all the hype around Sexton Firebirds, and they waited till like longer than normal, and then dropped the fake one, and then now the Groove. Like they're very in touch in a way that most of these others just are jokes. They're not quite as in touch, right? And that's Innova gets the nod for that.
The DGPT dropped a bunch of Instagram posts about MVP, about the Maple Hill MVP Open, of course, changing its course, and they had a bunch of different things, including world's largest rubber duck on hole 14, Mando Right.
It's pretty fun.
Floating in the water.
It's funny.
There's some other fun stuff.
I like the extra canoes to hold the discs on hole 8. Like that was funny. Yeah, not bad.
MVP teased the re-release of an Electron Entropy, and it's unclear whether or not they're actually going to be releasing this. But people are kind of mad in the comments.
This one is
because people actually want this, and so then it comes out on April Fool's. I guarantee you, Josh, they're gonna be releasing this. I 100% guarantee it.
I think you're right, but I still thought this one was stupid because it's one of those like announcements of an announcements kind of thing, but it was of something like people really want. This one fell flat for me, Charlie.
Because it's like, here's a thing you actually want,
right?
Like, not in a joking way.
Yes.
Like Halo Polecat's kind of like a joking thing. But this is like, no, we actually want this disc. Josh, you found this one. This is amazing.
Yeah. So Infinite to me, Infinite wins April Fools, and they did it with their post that wasn't even on April Fools. No, they did do a couple things for April Fools. They did a lefty products blog where they just like put their basket up and said this one's designed for lefties, and put like an arrow that says strong side on the left. Great fun. Definitely enjoyable. They also, you can buy their Tour Series discs on different molds. So like the Eric Oakley or Dynasty disc stamp you buy on an Exodus. So
yeah, they like just stamps on
wrong discs. Yeah, that's fine. But on Sunday, Easter Sunday, they made a post and they put up for sale a bunch of blank tombs. They're throwing putters, and they called them empty tombs. That's not even April Fool's. That wins, though. That was so clever and so funny.
That's amazing.
Yes, excellent. Infinite wins.
I wonder who thought of that. That is, marketing department gets a gold star for that one. That's hilarious.
Without a doubt. Well, and earlier in the day, they like posted a picture of a tomb up against the sun, and they're like, "Happy Easter," and like didn't say anything and just kind of like let people figure it out. But then the empty tomb joke, 10 out of 10. so good.
All right, let's move on. I'm sure we missed a couple of April Fool's things, but that's what we saw. Really quick picks rundown.
Jeez, Charlie.
I caught up, Josh.
You caught up.
I caught up in a big way. I had Anthony Barela to win this tournament, and he did take it down. I also had Gannon Burrow on my podium, and I had Calvin, who was not far away. I almost nailed it. But shout out to Ezra, who had an awesome weekend. I don't think I mentioned this earlier. I'm glad I just thought of it. Ezra's event rating would have been enough to win any of the other tournaments this year, and instead he finished third.
It's impressive.
Crazy.
That's crazy.
If he could pick his putting up, he's going to be really dangerous. But he's got to get better from inside the circle. He's got to.
Speaking of far throwers who have to lean on that in their game.
So then I had Kristen and Owen on my podium. So I got 2 points there. Josh had Kristen for a 1-pointer and had AB in second for a 1-pointer. So I got 8 points this weekend to Josh's 2, and I'm now just 1 shot back. You can always follow along with our picks and make your own if you're an Ultiworld Disc Golf subscriber at discgolf.ultiworld.com/upshot-picks. Josh, hole 18 review. That's our last stop today. What did you think? Obviously, 2 completely different holes. MPO, FPO.
But similar
both par 3s.
Yeah. So par 3s, islands or island-esque, right? You got to clear an OB spot. A hot take. I don't usually like par 3s for hole 18s. I don't think that because and the case here is when you have 2-stroke lead on a par 3, it feels almost insurmountable. Whereas in par 4s typically include the case of higher chance of OB, a higher chance of bogey, but also eagle opportunities are the hole 18s that I think are the best.
Of course.
I thought these holes were excellent. Couple reasons why. Number one, I think the danger was fair but ever present. It's not one that was so gimmicky or difficult that like you really felt like you were going to go OB. But think hole 17 USDGC, for example. I think that would make a very poor hole 18 because I think it's just a little too punishing in terms of the OB. This was not that case, but it very clearly was still in play because Kristen went OB in round 3 and round 2 on the FPO side.
Rounds 3 and 1.
3 and 1. Thank you.
Yep. She buried it in round 2.
So it was present, but wasn't so unfair that I felt like it was a gimmick. That creates enough pressure that people have to execute. Number 2, an ace run was not out of the question on either hole, and Gannon showed us that, right? It literally
got aced in FPO by Luca Lorenzen.
Perfect. Like there's my point, right? They both had ace run capabilities if you were down by 2 strokes, which was clear that Gannon went for. He was so close to acing that in the final round in order to really change that. And of course, aces are more difficult than eagles. But at the end of the day, I think it was one that was still an option, and that kept it kind of intense. And even though there was the 2-stroke swing, MPO was still very nervy. Number 3, and the final part that I think is wonderful, there is something about being able to watch the entire flight of a disc without having to cut to a chase cam that really adds pressure to me on those really intense moments. When you're having to go around a corner and you cut to a chase cam, it takes your brain a second to reorient. Okay, where am I? Where's the camera? Where's this disc coming in? How close is it really going to be? That's kind of hard to do and maintain the same sort of like suspense and stress that keeps you on the edge of your seat. When you get to just watch the entire flight from the T cam and watching that come in without that change, I think it allows the pressure of the moment to build. And I think both of these holes did a very nice job of being able to watch that on camera and feel the intensity of the shots after they came out of their hand. Not usually a big par 3 fan for hole 18. I'm going to give both of these an 8.5. I thought they were excellent.
Coming in hot.
It was hot. I thought they were excellent, and maybe it benefited from close tournaments, or from the close final rounds on both cases. But I really, really thought these were well-designed holes.
Hot take number 2 from me.
Okay.
Both of these should have been hole 17.
It's a fair argument.
Okay, what I'll say is this. The FPO 18, I really liked. It's a touchy shot.
Mm-hmm.
Very doable, but easy to make a mistake. Easy to go long because you're worried about going short. Easy to hit trees and fall into the water. One questionable thing, Josh, you probably don't know this. I didn't even know this.
Okay.
Because I was literally looking at the caddy book, confused during round 1.
Okay.
Because they added stringed OB above the water line literally like the morning of round 1. And then it was just there. It was not ever in the caddy book. And so people were landing low on the island and they were out of bounds.
I did not know that.
Come on, man. What are we doing out here? What are we doing out here? Like, and I have no problem with it being stringed, but like, you got to do that days before the tournament and update the caddy book.
Yes. You mean you don't go paint OB lines in the middle of the night?
It had that energy. And some of the spray painted OB lines had that energy. I'm going to be honest.
No.
Looking like a roller coaster out there.
Draw a circle along the line and then let people litigate whether or not when a disc is inbounds or out of bounds if it's on that circle.
So anyway, I liked hole 18 a lot for FPO because I do think that it had, the danger. And we saw it on 18, right? Mm-hmm. We saw it in the final round. Like, it delivered. And I liked 18 and MPO too as a whole. I don't love it as 18 because for a power hyzer thrower, it's a very basic par. It is not a hard par. Okay. Now, yes, did we see people blow it out of bounds? Yes. Like, weaker armed players were having to try to throw something flexier. They were overturning it into the headwind. Goodbye. Sure. But I want a par 4 there because I think it just makes it more exciting, more interesting than having a par 3 there because it's just not... everybody just dumped their drives to the bottom of the hill. It's not that hard to throw it to the bottom of the hill, and then you can run it pretty safely up the hill. 20% of people made the putt, maybe 10%. Fine hole. I like the hole. I just don't think it should be the 18th. What I do like about both of them is that they both felt like sort of iconic holes on a course that otherwise was bland, very bland. For 18, or for FPO, holes 17 and 18 were great holes on a course otherwise filled with a lot of mediocrity for me.
Sure.
I would love to see 17 become 16, 18 become 17, and maybe you create a new par 4 for the 18th. But the way it's set up right now is totally fine for me in FPO. I'd love to see a change in MPO, although the only way to really make more out of that would be to move the tee pad, I guess, because then you could make it a par 4, but I don't know. It's a great hole. I just don't think it delivers quite enough intrigue for that final shot. Like, it was pretty obvious that AB was going to win at that point.
See, I disagree with that, and
I just think there was no chance that AB was going to flip that guy out of bounds.
Let me give you a player who did flip it out of bounds in the final round. Calvin Heimberg. He overshot it. Win OB. True. You can hit that hill and skip and roll and take bad ground play if you come in at too aggressive a hyzer angle. I think there's more technicality to that shot than you're giving it credit for.
I like your rating as a whole, but for me, the MPO is only a 6.5 as an actual hole 18. FPO is an 8.
Okay.
That's where I come down on it. Let us know your thoughts on anything in today's show. Email us, upshot@ultiworld.com. We read everything. And thanks so much for being with us. We'll be back with you on Thursday with another edition of The Upshot. For Josh Mansfield, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long, and we'll talk to you in 2 days right here on The Upshot.